regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees. First item on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. For that, I'll turn that over to our Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for all the blessings you bestowed on this district. And Lord, we also ask you to continue to be with us as we grow and as we overcome in this pandemic, Lord. We just ask for strength, and we pray for all those that have been out there that are sick, those that are on the front line. We just ask for you to be a part of their lives and to protect them. And Lord, may we come out of this. May we be strong as a nation, stronger as a school district, and stronger people. Let us realize that you're the reason that we're coming out of it. And we ask you to be with us through this meeting, and may all the decisions we make be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Key. Next item is consent agenda. Without objection, the consent agenda will stand approved. Next up is honors and accomplishments of students and staff. Dr. James.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bingham. As the board is aware, every year we recognize our early college graduates, those students who have graduated with either a certificate or a diploma from Midlands Technical College. Typically, our kids are involved in a graduation, and Midlands Tech has postponed their graduation until December. We aren't able, because of the way we're meeting, to bring the students in, but with cooperation between the school district and Midlands Tech, we put together a little picture that has every student, their name and their degree or certificate earned, so that that can be part of the board mix. And we'd like to show that to the board now.
Mr. Bingham, members of the board, it is my pleasure tonight to recognize our early college kids. Unfortunately, we're not able to have them here in person, but we did want to do our best to recognize them and to make sure that y'all had an opportunity to see them. These are students from both Airport High School and Brooklyn Casey High School that have completed their requirements for Midlands Tech graduation. So all of us are licensed to sincerely congratulate these students on the hard work that they've done. As Dr. James was saying, they were supposed to have graduated, 22 of them, on May the 6th, but Midlands Technical College has postponed or rescheduled that ceremony for December the 9th at the Colonial Life Arena. And so we're hopeful that many of our students will take the opportunity to walk across the stage at Midlands Tech to receive their diplomas at that time. We'd also like to commend and appropriately honor these students for their dedication and perseverance in completing their Midlands Tech diplomas and certificates, especially during this alternative online classrooms due to our COVID-19 pandemic. As Judy Bledsoe writes down here, the accomplishments of these students have been monumental and their achievements tremendous. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Judy Bledsoe. I think all of these students, as well as their parents, really appreciate the work that Judy does to really specialize for these students and their degrees that they're working on. So I do want to honor her. She actually is the one that put together this presentation to honor our students. The first group that I want to recognize are the students that have earned their general college studies certificates. These 18 students, 10 of them you can see are 11th graders, 8 of them are 12th graders. All of these students completed at least 6 transferable college courses, earning at least 18 college credits. And so here are these students for their general college certificates. Our first one is Atari Marletta Anderson. She's an 11th grader at Airport High School. She's a member of the freshman cohort group of 2021. She earned 12 college courses and 33 college credits. She plans to attend Greenville Technical College, major in physical therapy assistant program, and then ultimately would like to be a physical therapist assistant. Our next student is Jasmine Marie Bieber. She's an 11th grader at Airport High School. She also is a member of the freshman cohort of 2021. She has completed 15 college courses, earning 46 college credits, and graduating cum laude. She is hoping to attend the University of South Carolina to major in pre-law and ultimately would like to be an attorney. Bailey Allison Cheeks is a senior this year. She is a dual enrollment student 2020. She has 8 college courses, 24 college credits, and she's graduating magna cum laude. She is planning to attend the University of South Carolina in the fall, majoring in nursing, and she wants to be a physician assistant in the future. Bryce Wesley Evans is an 11th grader at Airport High School. He is in the dual enrollment 2021 group. He has completed 9 college courses, 27 college credits, and he's graduating summa cum laude. He hopes to attend Clemson University and major in electrical and computer engineering, ultimately being an engineer after school. Samuel Leland LaBrage is a senior at Airport High School. He is a dual enrollment student. 2020 is his graduating class year. He's earned 9 college courses, 24 college credits, and he'll be attending the Citadel in the fall, where he'll be majoring in health and physical fitness and wants to be a physical therapist. Our next student is Dylan Lee Paget. He is a senior at Airport High School. He is a member of the dual enrollment 2020 class. He's earned 8 college courses, 27 college credits, and is graduating summa cum laude. He's planning to attend Midlands Technical College in the fall, majoring in computer science, and ultimately wants to get into cybersecurity. Lauren Michelle Pope is a senior at Airport High School, participating in our dual enrollment class of 2020. She's earned 7 college courses, 21 college credits. She plans to attend the University of South Carolina in the fall, majoring in cardiovascular technology, and ultimately after school wants to be a cardiovascular technologist. Our next student is Caroline Heather Reddick. Caroline is a junior at Airport High School. She's a member of the freshman cohort class of 2021. She has earned 16 college courses, 54 college credits, and is graduating magna cum laude. She has plans to attend Winthrop University and would like to be majoring in English and would like to be a high school English teacher. Our next student, Furman Brock Centerfit. He is a junior at Airport High School, a member of our dual enrollment class of 2021. He has completed 8 college courses, earned 24 college credits, and would like to attend Clemson University in health science, and ultimately had fully decided but would either like to do health and PE education or something in health promotions. Our next student is Sura Sheely. She's an 11th grader at Airport High School. She's a member of our dual enrollment class of 2021. She's completed and earned 8 college courses, 24 college credits, and is graduating cum laude. She's undecided on her college. She's still got a little bit more time, but the good news is she wants to be an educator, majoring in English, and then becoming an English teacher. Our next student is Jordan Grace Seidler. She's an 11th grader at Airport High School. She's a member of the freshman cohort class of 2021. She has completed 15 college courses, earning 47 college credits, and graduating cum laude. She hopes to attend the University of South Carolina, majoring in biology, and would ultimately like to be a veterinarian. Ryan Tanner Seidler is a junior at Airport High School, dual enrollment class of 2021. He has 9 college courses, has earned 27 college credits, and would like to attend Clemson University in their health science program and would ultimately like to be a physical therapist after school. Our next student is Kayleen Shariah Lynn Singleton. She is an 11th grader at Airport High School. She's a member of the cohort class of 2021. She has earned 12 college courses, 36 college credits, and graduating cum laude. She hopes to attend Clemson University as a pre-med student and ultimately would like to be an obstetrician or gynecologist. Our next student is Kimani Shakira Thomas. She's an 11th grader at Airport High School. She's a member of the freshman cohort class of 2021. She's completed 10 college courses, 30 college credits, and she hopes to attend the University of South Carolina, majoring in business management, and ultimately would like to own her own restaurant and be an entrepreneur. Samantha Haley Turner is a senior at Airport High School. She's a member of our freshman cohort class of 2020. She's earned 20 college courses and 61 credits and graduating cum laude. She will be attending the University of South Carolina in the fall, majoring in biological science, and ultimately wants to be a trauma surgeon. Kelsey Jean White is a Brooklyn Casey High School senior, member of our dual enrollment class of 2020. She has completed 13 college courses, earning 41 college credits, and graduating magna cum laude. In the fall, she plans to attend the University of South Carolina Sumter, majoring in nursing, and ultimately wants to be a nurse practitioner. Parker O'Neill Whittle is a senior at Airport High School. He is a member of our dual enrollment class of 2020. He has completed 14 college courses, earning 45 college credits, and graduating summa cum laude. He is planning to attend Winthrop University in the fall, majoring in exercise science, and ultimately wants to be a physical therapist after college. Our next student is Caitlin Taylor Zinser. She is a senior at Airport High School. She's a member of our freshman cohort class of 2020. She's completed 20 college courses, earning 61 college credits, and she plans to attend the University of South Carolina Aiken in the fall, majoring in history, and ultimately wants to be a secondary teacher. Here is a picture of those students that we were able to get together to snap a photo of. Our next group of students are our students who have earned their associate degrees. They have achieved quite a milestone, earning their associate degree before graduating from high school. These students have ultimately completed 18 plus specific courses and earned 61 or more college credits, which were required for either an associate in art or an associate in science diploma. So they really have gone above and beyond and greatly achieved. Our first student to earn their associate degree is Courtney Ann Bingham. She's earned an associate in science. She is a senior at Brooklyn Casey High School. She has completed 19 college courses, 62 college credits, and graduating cum laude. In the fall, Courtney is planning to attend Charleston Southern University, majoring in nursing and pharmaceuticals, and she hopes to be a nurse anesthetist after school. Our next student is Armani Sedaria Jarvis. She has earned her associate in art as well as an associate in science. She is a senior at Airport High School. She's completed 22 college courses, 71 college credits earned, and she's graduating magna cum laude. Armani in the fall plans to attend Winthrop University, majoring in business management and accounting, and ultimately wants to be a CPA or accountant. Our next student is Emily Samantha Ortega Lopez. She has earned her associate in science. She is a senior at Airport High School. She received her general studies certificate last year. She's earned 19 college courses, 63 college credits, and is graduating cum laude. In the fall, she is planning to attend Lander University, majoring in nursing, and would like to be a nurse practitioner after school. Samantha Haley Turner has earned her Associate in Art. She is a senior at Airport High School. She earned her General Studies Certificate this year, 2020. She has completed 20 college courses, earning 61 college credits, graduating cum laude. And in the fall, she is planning to attend the University of South Carolina, majoring in biological science, and ultimately wants to be a trauma surgeon. And she was also featured in the other section. Our next student is Haley Marie Watts. She's earned her Associate in Art. She is a senior at Airport High School. She earned her General Studies Certificate last year, 2019. She's completed 20 college courses, 61 college credits, and in the fall, Haley is planning to attend Lander University, majoring in political science and pre-law, and ultimately wants to be a corporate attorney. Caitlin Taylor Zinser has earned her Associate in Art. She is a senior at Airport High School, earned her General Certificate this school year. She's completed 20 college courses, 61 college credits, and in the fall, she is planning to attend the University of South Carolina in Aiken, majoring in history, and ultimately wants to be a history teacher or a future attorney, I believe is what that additional note means. Here's some pictures of these students that we were, Ms. Bledsoe was able to capture of them. You can see that they have their mask on to signify the times that they completed their degrees in, but we certainly, again, are very pleased and proud of these students. Board members, many of them completed some questionnaires, and I'm only going to read a few of these statements to you tonight, but I am going to send this presentation to you, and we'll also be posting it so that everybody can see everybody's comments. But I wanted to share two on the early college reflections. The first one is from Courtney Bingham, who is from BC High School, and she says, early college cohort program 100% challenged me to my core. I feel more than ready to tackle college in the fall, and I'm more than confident I can reach my career goal. And then from Emily Ortega Lopez from Airport High School, she says, the early college cohort has impacted my life in a very positive way. Being able to take these courses has made it easier and affordable for me to attend a college or university. Having taken these courses the past 2.5 years has saved me thousands of dollars in tuition. I will forever be grateful for the opportunity to participate in this program that has helped and prepared me to start college. And ultimately, both of these statements really do support what our goals are with the early college and dual enrollment programs. And here's some of the other statements. Again, I will share this with you, but I'm not going to take the time this evening to read these statements. The next question that our students were asked to talk about was to give us some COVID-19 inspired wisdom. So I wanted to share two of those with you. Our first one being from Bailey Cheeks from Airport High School. She says, I believe that everything happens for a reason and that there is always a bright side to every situation. As the class of 2020, we have endured one of the most challenging times of our lives before we have even fully began. Because of this, we will be more resilient, innovative, and grateful in the future. And we certainly hope that is true. And then our second one from Caroline Reddick from Airport, she says, while the coronavirus pandemic has limited my opportunity to publicly celebrate my academic achievements, it has not limited my ability to learn and appreciate my education. Knowledge is power. No pandemic can ever rob me of this. And so again, those two statements, I believe, really do speak to our goals. And here's some other statements that students have. And then once again, for our graduates, and hopefully some of them are watching this evening, a quote, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. The best is yet to come. And we sincerely do believe that. You make us proud to be educators. And on behalf of all of us, from the board to the staff of Lex2 Innovation Center, Airport High School, and Brooklyn Casey High School, we certainly do want to congratulate you and honor you because your accomplishments do not go unnoticed.
forward.
Okay.
Mr. Bingham.
Yes.
So Dixon, I appreciate you sharing that with us, because as much as we can give our seniors recognition this year in such a tough time, I think we need to be doing that. That's such an amazing accomplishment. I've always been impressed when we can honor and recognize kids who've earned a college 2-year degree before they even graduate high school, and to see all these other students on their way, that is certainly something worth celebrating. And also to that end, I'd like to see us continue to celebrate our seniors as much as we can at our meetings. So I think it'd be pretty great if we could also, I'm sure we had some probably AP scholars and things like that out of the senior classes at Airport and BC too. So maybe we could like celebrate them and any other achievements that you can think of during this section of our agenda next month, because anything we can do, like I said, to continually recognize these seniors and give them the appreciation and recognition they deserve will be great. Thank you, and thank you for presenting this tonight.
Very well.
Okay. That's all for honors and accomplishments?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to unfinished business, which there is none, and which takes us to new business. First item on the agenda is consideration of first reading of the 2021 proposed general fund budget. Dr. James.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bingham, we had a board workshop last night, virtual workshop to Tuesday night, I'm sorry, to talk about this. The budget is in your packet. Marty is here to talk about any of the numbers, but just to remind you, we do have a balanced budget that we're proposing, and any specifics that you might have. Marty, would you like to go over?
Yes, sir. As we went over with you on Tuesday night, the balance of the revenue that we're anticipating getting into the budget for 2021 is $85,773,168. $32,820,100 from local revenue, and just over $53 million from state revenues and transfers in. That is basing our revenue on the local side at the 145.12, which is the calculated rollback millage. Also, that is basing the EFA funds from the state on the 135-day count of this current school year. We'll see the projected increases. We have $134,000 in program changes and $1.3 billion in salary and fringe changes based on comparing 2021 back to 1920 budget. I'm happy to entertain any questions. We just want to remind you again, as far as our millage, we are extremely less than our neighboring districts. We are the lowest in the Richland and Lexington school districts on the operating side, and our total millage, we're about 100 mills less than our next closest school district in the Lexington and Richland areas.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'd like to ask Marty a couple questions. Marty, if you'll just explain, go a little bit in detail for me under the 2020-2021 budget assumptions with the 2.17 mil in the CARES funding that we get, and also the 1 million that we're kind of holding on to. And Dr. James, you may want to chime in and answer some of this too. It says plans include technology, safety, and cleaning. Do we kind of have a contingency plan? Are we looking, I mean, with the pandemic and what we may be looking at with the amount of people we may have to hire with the change of what we can have in a classroom, what we may have to have for extended daycare? Is that all included in that too?
Well, the CARES Act money, that $2.17 million there's a limit. There are areas that money can be spent for. That money cannot be spent to supplant. For instance, we can't say that we're going to use that money to offset our salaries. That money is federal money that's designed for improvement of technology, improvement of cleaning, safety, those kinds of measures that would be protective in an environment where you might have this reoccur. So the state.
So if that, and I see where you're going with that. So my question would be, do we have some money set aside, or are we, because I understand what you're saying as far as it being earmarked in the CARE Act, if we had to hire more employees and we had to hire more employees for daycares, where is that money coming from?
We don't have that money, but we're basically where we are. The state of South Carolina has passed a continuing resolution, the General Assembly, which means that they're operating off of last year's budget. There is no new money. We can't assume there's any new money. They're scheduled to come back in on September the 30th. September the 30th, they will reevaluate all of the information they have from the BEA, from revenue collections, those sorts of things. At that time, they will tell us, we've been told, as to if there is a change, if there will be raises, if we will have to pay the 1% employee contribution to retirement, or if collections are low enough that would impact us in a negative way. But right now, the state of South Carolina is operating on a continuing resolution. Our budget is based on the exact same funding that we receive based on the 135-day count, which that's the money day for school. The number of students that you have on the 135th day of the year is the amount of money that you receive from the state of South Carolina. We based our budget on what our 135th day was this year. We've got two variable pots that we have not had in the past. One is the CARES Act money, which is a federal money, and their designations that go along with that. The other is, you spoke about the $1 million. We have asked the board, since this is a reassessment year, and we understand that our millage rate will go from 150.72 to 145.12, I think it is 0.1 something. So if we keep it at 150.72, that 5.6 mills gives us just over $1 million. And our goal was to earmark that as contingency, which would give us the opportunity when we come back in and give you a report at the end of the first fiscal quarter to say, all right, the state has said that we are going to have to pay that 1% of retirement, or they haven't, or we have an expenditure that we weren't expecting. There's $1 million there that we can deal with that. Hopefully, the best case scenario would be that we would be able to continue on with that and roll it over so that the board would have that as a seed for the upcoming year, because theoretically, next year would be a worse financial year than this year. So, are there extra positions? Are there extra funds? No, ma'am. This is basically a continuing resolution type budget. And there are no revenue streams to tap because the General Assembly has not given us another number.
Right. And I understand all of that. I guess there's just no way to answer my question then. If you had to hire and in August, when we start back up, say, that's where I'm asking, where would the money come from? If you had to hire more positions in August to start the school year.
Well, what we're trying to do is fill the FTEs that we have and not use attrition. Now, I would tell you that there are probably more places that are using attrition trying to balance the budget and work off last year's numbers than there are folks who are looking at adding positions. So the reality is, Ms. Wooten, I don't know that we could add positions, but I don't necessarily know. There's no requirement.
But I'm asking if since we really don't know, and you probably can't answer it right now, so I understand that, Dr. James, is if they say this is what we need the districts to do for the guidelines with the pandemic, and that would require more positions, whether it's teachers, TAs, daycare workers. Do we have some kind of contingency, some kind of fund somewhere if we had to have that up front?
Or always, if you had something that where the General Assembly, the first thing you could take an act of the General Assembly to reduce class size across the board, because right now in South Carolina, the class size, you can have class sizes in some classes up to 35 kids, and in PE and some of the special areas, you can have over 40 kids in there. So to do that, we're taking act of the General Assembly. But if the board wanted to, the board has a general fund balance. That's typically not a good route to go, but you have about 16% of your operating budget in general fund balance, and have about another 10% in CPIF fund balance, which with a super majority vote of the board that you could spend any way you choose. So yes, ma'am, they're not conventional sources, but they are sources of money there.
Okay.
Mr. Bingham, I have a few questions.
Okay.
So Dr. James, I know we're looking at the rollback millage, and I get that, and that's actually how we're getting to the 1 point-ish. Is that the maximum amount, period, to include the cap, or do we have, is there, not that you're recommending it, but are there options to go even higher than that, or is that getting us with that total cap, not just the rollback cap, but the maximum amount we could raise this year?
Yes, ma'am. There are about, I don't have it specifically, I think there are 2 additional rollback mills that we aren't using. What I looked at, what Marty looked at, is the idea of, can we keep our millage rate where it is rather than to raise the rate. But in answer to your question, Ms. Brown, there's either 1.5 or 2.5 mills that we are not taking advantage of.
You would also be able to use the 3.47 calculated for the current year's millage cap.
So you could raise the millage rate roughly another 5.5 mills. That would put you at 156.8, somewhere along in that, 157 somewhere. But our goal was to keep it at 157.2, which is where we are.
All right, so my follow-up question to that is going to be, I know you have to start somewhere, Marty, and I appreciate from your perspective the difficulty that it probably was to have to build anything this year with the uncertainties. But it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you took a baseline at our 135-day attendance mark, right? And that what you built the budget on, that assumption that we'll have about the same that we had in 135 days?
We did that because that was the money day, and we knew that our money is not scheduled to be more at this point in time, because with continuing resolution, we're to expect the same. So yes, we did the 135-day because that's the day we get the finance.
And that's only the Education Finance Act line on that revenue budget.
So I know we did count all the way through, for different types of funding, 5-day, 10-day count, 20-day count, 30-day count, 110, all of that. So if less kids show up next year than are currently, I guess what I'm going with is there a potential fiscal downfall to us if less kids choose to show up for school next year?
It will not be adjusted again until the 45th day.
So, but on the 45th day, if less kids show up, we're budgeting that our 135-day numbers will be there on that 45th day. But if parents keep kids home or anything like that, or potentially at the 45th day, we could see a shortfall based on our budget.
Possibly could see it drop, yes.
Was there any thought given regarding the millage as to that worry or concern?
Well, yes, ma'am. And again, that's one of the reasons that we label that $1 million contingency rather than plugging it into the regular budget, because what we hope, Ms. Branham, is if there are people who choose to keep their children home, and right now we don't know what next year's going to look like. The state of South Carolina, State Department of Education, or yesterday they were going as far as talking about what do blended days look like. What does it look like if you have children who come back to a brick and mortar building and children whose parents choose to keep them on a virtual learning? So we really don't know at this point what we will look like in the fall. But $1 million would make a difference if it isn't earmarked directly for something other than an emergency. And we would know at the 45th day if we had a drop. Typically, the drop is somewhere near the 135th day, because we start out with a lot of kids coming, and then as the year progresses, kids drop away, move away, that sort of thing. This year, it may be inverted. We may have less show up on the front end. We may have some that choose to stay home and do the virtual program. I'm assuming that the State Department would keep them enrolled just as they are right now. But you're right. I mean, we could have used the roughly two mills that we have, and look back, and another 3.7 that you could raise, and we could raise it 5 more mills. But just from the conservative nature of our board and the fact that we had a balanced budget based on the numbers that we had, I felt that keeping it 150.72 was a good recommendation, but we certainly will follow the board's direction.
Okay, and then my next question, Marty, is on your handout about Title I Part A, Title I Part D, and Title III Part A. The handout on this was pretty short. Just wondering if anything else, because last year the handout on that, especially under Title I Part A, we had like an estimated carryover. I didn't see that accounted for under this year's report. I think we had something about mandatory set-asides, a category for administration, a category for foster care, transportation, and other, and the allocations to the schools and all of that. Is all of that information the same from last year's report, or is there additional information? Do we have any carryover this year under the Title I Part A? Do you have any more information than what we've been given so far? And I know those are different part of our money, but do you have any more information on that? Because that is part of our overall big picture.
I think part of that, because of the pandemic, they are rolling all of those funds forward, and all of our schools are in the process of trying to update their plans, because a lot of them had field trips and those kind of things for the end of the year that they're not able to do. And so Ms. Gunner has not been able to finalize all those numbers because it's still in some flux based on the situation that we're in.
Some of the money in Title I has not been able to be spent because it was for the trips. But the federal government is allowing the maximum flexibility on that. Typically, as you know, Ms. Brown, we can only carry over 15% of that money. We've been given flexibility on that simply because of what's going on, and the fact that we have over a quarter of the year that they weren't able to spend the money. So that's federal money that won't impact the general fund budget, but will roll over, and it does impact the overall picture. You're right, because there's some of those positions that are tied into Title I funds.
We also received notification this week that all of our EIA funding that would have been due to expire June 30th, we can carry over for an additional year. So any of those funds that we have not been able to spend there again because we were out, at-risk funds, some of our CAPE money, there's some reading money, there's some technology money, lots of different areas there. We'll also be able to carry that over.
And I do understand that this is to say it's an abnormal year is an understatement. Yeah, I guess it was just concerning to me on Tuesday when we were presenting this information just about 48 hours ago, some of it that, you know, we didn't have the detail on that money as we've had in years past. I understand now, Dr. James, your reasoning for saying we want to hold aside the $1 million. I understand that, and I think in light of the current situation that we're in, you know, I can live with that for now, because I think it's wise to do so. But I just, you know, generally we would be given a list of priorities, and if you even go into our board policy when it's talking about budgeting, that's how we build budgets. Is we let the board weigh in and give our budget priorities. We kind of say what we think are priorities based on what your principals have said. Understanding, again, this is an unusual year, so budgeting can't really be done that way. I just don't want to lose sight of that for hopefully the days that we're out of this type of pandemic situation, that we go back to a more budgeting process kind of in line with our board policies. And then to that end, because I just, you know, a little uncomfortable about saying a blank check of $1 million. I'm assuming, and I know you're nodding your heads right now, that once we get that information, and this is going to be an ongoing process, Dr. James, even into next year, who knows, probably even until December or maybe next March, but that the board will continue to be kept apprised of the plans for that $1 million, and obviously have some input when we get down to what will be our priorities as to the expenditure of that money, whether it be like what Ms. Wooten said, if the State Department comes out and says, hey, we're going to make class sizes be about 3/4 of what they were, and all of a sudden we find that we need more teachers, and you say, hey, this is what I think I need more teachers, or I need more teachers aid, or I need after school daycare workers for when the kids aren't in class. I can live with that and get that, as long as, you know, you're bringing those to the board for us to kind of help prioritize.
Well, there's a quick thing about that. Last night, we told the board, when I tried to explain our thinking, that $1 million would be set aside as a contingency fund and would require a board vote to be used. So that is, it's by no stretch of imagination money that would be used at the district office level, superintendent's level, Marty's level, or anybody else. That would require a board vote to access that money. As far as the budgeting process, we've done this year just exactly like we've done the last 5 years, in the fact that Marty and I met with every fund manager, from those who managed $2,000 to those that managed $15 million, and took a list and went through all that, went through the process just as we have. The fly in the ointment is the fact that the state of South Carolina passed a continuing resolution, which means, in fact, they're going to operate at the same dollars that they did last year, which pretty much nullifies us being able to do anything more than we have done. So we've tried desperately. Our goal is to keep the number of FTEs in the district exactly where they are, not lose any with attrition, not lose any by layoff. We are cautious about what cost things are going to be, but basically we're trying to sit pat, utilize that CARES Act money in the way that it's designated in safety and cleaning and preparation for the things that would go along with a virus outbreak again, and to put $1 million aside that hopefully you aren't going to have to spend in September, so that you will have a seed for an upcoming budget for 21-22 that will in probability be less because this is a hold harmless year in order to get the federal money for the state of South Carolina. So we'll be held harmless this year, but there's nothing that says that we won't get cut next year. So that $1 million would be, it'd take board action to touch that.
And thank you, Dr. James. I just know we have probably more people listening to our regular meeting than we did our workshop 2 nights ago. And I think all those points you made, particularly about we're trying to keep all our FTEs, I think our teachers and other employees will be glad to hear that. And I think it's also important that you restated for everybody listening tonight that the board will be voting again for that $1 million later on about how we're going to have to spend that. Because at this point, you're correct, we really don't know.
And just make sure you all understand before you do any voting, the $85 million does not include that $1 million. So for us to be able to spend it, we would have to come back to you with an outline of exactly how you would be spending it, just like we're doing tonight.
So Marty, with that, are we going to need to add the $1 million to the 85,773,168 as a budget amount so that it matches with the millage amount?
We certainly can. What I would like to do instead is let's set that millage rate. It won't go into effect until the tax rolls go out for next year. Can we come back to you September 30th when we have some more information from the General Assembly, and can we revisit it at that time?
So you're going to wait until then to set the millage?
We're going to need you to set the millage and certify that in August.
When we do the final reading of the budget, if the board approves the budget, then we will announce the board sets the millage rate for Lexington 2 at either, our recommendation is 150.72 mils or 145.1 or 155, whatever you set it at. What Marty's saying is, in order to budget that contingency wise, she could put it in, put $1 million in earmark contingency in this budget and make this budget $86 million and the millage rate 150.72, or she could come back at the end of the first quarter at the end of September and say, here's the $1 million, and we along with that, there's the 1% that you have to pay for employee retirement, or you needed the other teachers or whatever. So we can do it either way, Mr. Bingham, but the bottom line is, no, sir, we need the board to set the millage when we approve the budget.
That's what I thought.
Yes, that's correct.
You're just saying you won't come back until September 30th until we find out from the General Assembly on what we may need to spend the $1 million for, if anything.
Yes, sir. We're hoping that it's going to be a contingency that you carry throughout the year. But it may be that if the General Assembly says, right now they only suspended the 1% employee retirement fees. So it isn't forgiven, it's just suspended. If that came back and they said, no, it's not suspended, you got to pay it, then our recommendation is that that's about $500,000 that would cost us. And so, of course, we'd recommend that you use part of that $1 million for it. There are just so many variables that we can't predict. We're trying to look at all of them and say, what would we do if this happens? But we just don't know how many of them are going to be out there. It will be labeled contingency, and it will require a board vote to spend.
Okay.
I would like to leave it at the $85 million that we have here. And if we're going, when the time comes to make changes, we can do them all at one time. Hopefully by the end of September, we'll have more finite information to make the adjustments.
So Marty, are you saying that the millage could change even that far down the road? we would just have to, I guess, redo the 10-day or 15-day notice. I know we've never hit this type of situation before, so I guess that's.
No, ma'am, you set the millage one time. We can't change it after the board sets.
We'll set the millage, but
I think there's the confusion.
To change any of the state funding, then we're gonna have to adjust the revenue budget anyway, based on what the state comes back with. So there will be more changes to happen based on what the state comes back with their Appropriations Act.
We're in the situation, Mr. Bingham and Ms. Brown, Ms. Caswell, you've been on the board for 20 years, and y'all seen those years where the state comes back and says, all right, it's January and we've got a cut and we're going to cut you 2% or 4% or whatever. That's what we're hedging against. We don't know what September 30th looks like. We're hoping that collections are going to come in, even though they're late, but they're going to come in. And we're hoping that the state's going to absorb that 1% employer retirement. Those are the things we're hoping, but we don't know until the General Assembly comes back in session, and that's September. So we're just trying to hedge our bets against anything happening.
So that's the point of setting the millage at the 150.72 now, so that, because we have to set it now, we can't wait until September to set the millage. We have to set it so that it goes on the people's tax bills and coming up that they're going to receive.
Correct. Yes, sir. Set the millage at the 150.72 would be our recommendation, and pass this $85 million budget. We will come back to you in September with what our estimates are based on the Appropriations Act, and we will the updated numbers for the millage at that time as well. And it'll be another blended number for you to look at.
And that's, Mr. Bingham, that's not different theoretically than if our collection rates are higher than we think. In years where we set our budget based on a 96% collection rate and then we collect 98%, there's extra money in there that comes back to the board. We say, all right, we've got to reconfigure this because we've got more money than we figured on in the beginning, and that's what that $1 million would be. It would be at the end of September. We know that $1 million is there, and we know by then if we have to spend it on the additional teachers that Ms. Luke was talking about, or if we have to spend it on unemployment, or if there's something that's mandated by the state that we have to buy related to this pandemic. I mean, we would be able to give the board more complete information about that.
Okay. Other questions?
I guess, Dr. Bill, after listening to your presentation tonight, and Marty, and thank you for the comprehensiveness of it this evening. I'm kind of at the opposite end of where I was earlier today, and actually wondering if you really believe that, based on my earlier question of what's going may or may not happen with attendance, is, do you think that, I mean, Marty and Dr. Bill, do you feel the 85 is where we need to land and leave the other millage on the table, so to speak?
I think that with what I'm seeing from other neighboring school districts, I think the 150.72 would be in the best interest of the school district to not go higher than that. That's my opinion.
And Ms. Brown, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, and you know, as a board member, and you've been on the national level, that additional 5 meals is a lot of money, and that would go a long way. But the other side of that is, we've got a lot of folks out there who have lost jobs and are in bad situations. And if we can keep it where we are and live a little closer to the best this year, my recommendation would be that's more palatable for our community, and it doesn't get us maybe as much as we would like, but it gets us through it. So
I recognize 100%, Dr. Bill, and I mean, as you know, though, we're the lowest millage, and I like to show that chart, and I'm glad y'all put it in there this time. We're the lowest out of all the surrounding districts, and I think in the entire Midlands region and area, and I'm proud of that fact and want to continue to do that. But that is because we live really conservatively. And as long as you think we can still do it and make do, I'm fine with that. I just don't want our children to suffer if we don't budget enough to give them the basics that we are currently have been able to provide, especially all the great programs like what we saw Dixon presenting tonight and what he's going to present later with AP Scholars. I mean, I don't want to lose the ground, Dr. James, that you've made in the last few years under some of these programs. You know what I'm saying?
And we don't, and that's one of the things that the board can be extremely proud, Ms. Brown. And three of you have been on that for 20 years, and as we've been there for several terms, and the other board members have been there 1 or 2 terms, you can be proud. I mean, and when we started this referendum, the building and all, you all approved $9 million for technology. Dixon spent an hour on the phone with school districts in Arkansas today to figure out how we did it. We've had districts from all over the state of South Carolina talking about our technology program because the board was progressive enough to do that. Now we're going to refresh some stuff out of the CARES Act money because that's technology. And I talked to you all about the fact in our long range plan that we aren't conceding any ground. We aren't changing our plan. We aren't backing up. We want to continue to move forward. We want to make sure that we're able to get some MiFi or hotspot, remote kind of access for kids that don't have accessibility. We want to make sure that we're taking devices home in first and second grade so we aren't working paper and pencil back. What I would tell you is Marty and I have spent countless hours working on this, and we talked to everybody on this cabinet at length, and we think, given every scenario that we've heard from the State Department of Education, that if the board sets it at 150.72, we won't step back. And we're keeping our FTE numbers where they are. Now, I will tell you, if we lose a 30-year teacher, you're going to see some in a few minutes that have 0 years experience and 1 year experience. But that's a way of looking at the budget. So my best prediction says if you set it at 150.72, we will be okay.
Mr. Bingham?
Yes.
If no one has any other questions, I would like to make a motion. Are there any other questions?
You go ahead and make a motion.
I had one more thing real quick. So Dr. James, and to that end, I just want to make sure too, though, that when we are in our hiring phases, that we are making sure, which I know Angela, Dr. Cooper, you do an amazing job hiring, but that we are looking for our best candidates. If we've got, I get it about money, but if I can get a doctor of biology in a high school classroom, that's a good thing to have too. So I want to make sure we're hiring our best people for our jobs, no matter what the degrees are, and that cost right there. Because I think minimally, if you look at a great budget, it's really kind of minimal based on that. And I know that's probably not what you were saying, Dr. James, but it just grabbed my ear.
Go ahead, Cindy, you were going to make a motion.
Yes, sir. I make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve the administration's recommendation to set the general fund budget for 2021 at $85,773,168 and a mill rate of 150.72.
And we have a motion. Do I have a second?
And I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Key. All right, now, any more questions? Anybody else? everybody. I don't see anybody.
Bill, hey Bill, I was trying to get my mic on.
Go ahead.
Going forward, so the next step in the process, this is first tonight, right?
This is the first reading of the budget. Basically, after the reading, the setting of the amount of the budget, the millage, then the district will put an ad in the paper. They will announce what that millage is. There's a prescribed form in our policy about, what it has to include in the ad. They've got to put an ad in the paper, and then it'll announce like 14 days ahead of our public hearing, and then we will have a public hearing before our next regular board meeting to vote on second reading of the budget.
And that, assuming that we can have that public hearing, I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay, so there'll be the public.
Well, we'll have to have a public hearing. We may have to be creative on how we allow the public to enter the boardroom. We may have to sort of do it one at a time or something. We can talk about how the logistics of that might work, but we will have to have a public hearing. That's mandated by the state.
Okay, and then during this 14 days, whatever question and answers follow up with Marty or Dr. James, I'm sure they would be made available if we needed to have a little conversation, or have conversation with them and follow up.
We'll be glad to do anything for that.
Okay, thank you.
Now, we can modify in any way between now and the public hearing or the actual vote on the second reading. We can modify the budget in any way except for we can't increase the millage. If we increase the millage above what we've set, we'd have to go back and re-advertise again and go through that process again. So, but as far as what the money, how the budget is being structured, or what it's being used for, any of that is on the table for discussion all the way through until we pass the final budget.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is my second one, so I needed that refresher.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the amount of the budget of $85,773,168 and set the millage at 150.72. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, same way. The motion passes unanimously for first reading on the general fund budget.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is the consideration to authorize administration to apply for Titles 1, 3, and neglected and delinquent funds.
Mr. Bingham, members of the board, Dr. James, normally, as Ms. Branham pointed out, Ms. Gunner is the one standing before you and is able to provide a little bit more information than we have for you tonight. But as Dr. James was saying earlier, because of the pandemic, the 15% requirement, all those kind of things have been waived for this year, and all of the funds are able to roll forward or carry over. We have received in your packet is the preliminary allocations for Title I, Part A. That allocation is $3,046,471.79. You can see that is an increase of $325,945.27. Title I, Part D, which is our funding for Three Rivers, or part of that funding, the preliminary allocation for that is $68,112.17. You can see that also is an increase of $7,883.30. Our Title III Part A, which is for our English learners, we have not received that preliminary allocation yet, but our allocation for this year, you can see, is $90,806.21. And so our request tonight is for you to give Dr. James approval for us to apply for those federal funds for this school year, coming school year.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion, approval, recommendations, approval for, to apply for and request to apply for the annual allocations of federal funds in these programs.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? I think Mr. Key seconded. I didn't catch his mic though.
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the authorize administration to apply for Titles 1, 3 in the elective and delinquent funds. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All opposed by the like sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we move on to consideration of proposed temporary changes to board policy GCD, professional staff vacations and holidays, and board policy GDD, support staff vacations and holidays.
Yes, sir. We're asking that the board extend for 1 year the carryover period of more than 20 vacation days. Board has a policy that employees cannot carry over more than 20 days. This will end up being a sister policy to a revision that we received today that we will bring you at the next board meeting from the South Carolina School Boards Association. Because of COVID-related illnesses, there are new recommendations based on emergency sick leave, time away, and that sort of thing. But what we're asking is that for a 1 year period of time, that the board allow the employees to carry over more than 20 vacation days. That way, no one will lose any days during this COVID crisis. Now, if we get to July 1 of 2021, and there's more, they would lose them as long. But we're asking for a 1 year waiver from the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the board extend for 1 year the carryover of more than 20 vacation days.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Kessler. All right, discussion. All right, I don't see anybody with any discussion items. So we have a motion and a second to approve the temporary changes to the board policy to carry over their 20 days vacation. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed by the like sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next is consideration of a resolution to issue the annual 8% debt.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it is that time to do our annual resolution. This will cover our issuances for the CPIF funds in July and also the installment purchase revenue bond payments as they come throughout the year. It's $9,250,000.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend the approval of the resolution as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Summers. Any discussion? I don't see anybody with discussion. So we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution to issue the annual 8% debt. All of those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, raise your hand by the like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Next up is consideration of a replacement vehicle for maintenance.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have several items on here, but item number 8, we would like to ask that you give approval for us to use our CPIF funds 2021 to replace a vehicle with 177,000 plus miles through the state contract and get that from Dick Bailey Ford in the amount of $31,444.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend a motion of purchasing the service truck from Vic Bailey Ford in the amount of $31,444 with funding from 2021 CPIF funds.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kester. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, question.
Yes.
We're using CPIF, but it is with, and I haven't seen the line items in the budget, but is there not a vehicle section in the budget that would cover that? Or equipment?
No, sir, that's, Mr. Summers, that's CPIF is for all the capital project pieces that go along with that. So when the board has a fund balance at the end of the year, when the budget year ends and there's fund balance, we take 10% off the top and that goes into the general fund balance. Then the remainder is divided in half. And half of that goes into CPIF, which goes to capital projects, maintenance, those sorts of things. And so it's a safety net implemented by the board so that there will always be funds for this kind of thing. But we don't have a general fund line item for that because we have a CPIF budget that has to be approved before the general fund budget every year.
Okay. Yeah, I was just asking. I mean, I wouldn't have put in I wouldn't have put the vehicle in a capital account, but that's the way we do it. That's fine.
This was a line item that was in our CPIF, our 2021 CPIF budget that the board approved last month.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there not some way to combine? Do we have to do every single one of these individually? I mean, since it looks like all of them are CPIF.
They are, Ms. Wood.
Is there not a way we can just make one motion to approve them all? Don, I can't believe you put all of these on one meeting. I mean,
no one else could either, Ms. Wood.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that felt that way, but I mean, Mr. Chairman, Dr. James, Don, is there not one, somehow we can combine, like, at least through?
We ought to be able to go E through Z.
Well, that's what I was looking at, Kevin. I mean, can we not do that?
What if we did them by consent, Bill, and let us just pull the ones that we don't want to do by consent?
What I was going to suggest is we allow Don to walk through and just say what each thing is and explain it. And then if everybody's is okay with that, then I will do it by unanimous consent at the end and just say without objection, all of these items are approved. And let's let Don go through for the purposes of the meeting and at least walk through what we see on our paper, but what the general audience can't see. And so that way it's in the record as to what we're spending and for what amount of money. So Don, if everybody's okay with that, Don, if you'll just keep on walking, that was E, the replacement vehicle for maintenance. If you'll walk all the way down through your items, all the way through Z.
F through Z.
Yeah. E through Z.
Well, we've done E.
Yeah, we just did E.
Item F is consideration of roof
We hadn't voted on it.
Yeah.
We had a motion and a second, we didn't vote.
Correct. Vote.
Yeah,
So
I think
then we can vote E and then we'll take F through the other if you'd like to do that. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve item E, the replacement vehicle for maintenance. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed by the like sign. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to item F through Z. Don.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to, item F is consideration of roof replacement on the left side of New Bridge Academy. That roof is a 1987 roof that needs to be replaced. The administration recommends awarding the contract to Watts and Associate Roofing in the amount of $275,700 using, again, 2020-21 CPIF funds. This was in your CPIF budget as well. Item G, consideration of rooftop with HVAC replacement on New Bridge Academy. And what we're doing here is we're breaking this down to where that we're purchasing it, and then we're basically giving the maintenance the opportunity to install this one. So we'd like to purchase the unit, and the unit is 1987 rooftop unit, and we'd like to purchase it from United Refrigeration in the amount of $2,858.96. And again, maintenance staff will do that installation. Item H is consideration of rekeying doors at Fulmer Middle School and Airport High School. If you recall, we went through and we changed all of our exterior locks. We're going to take them off of the master key or individual keys and just put them on the master and grandmaster, so that we encourage people to come through where we have access controls using their cards, so we know who came in and out of the building. We're asking that we change these locks over and award the contract to Triangle Safe and Lock in the amount of $3,630. And again, that comes from the 2019-20 CPIF budget. Item I, consideration of installing the letters to update the name of Herbert A. Wood Elementary School. As you know, we changed that the name of that facility, and we just basically want to put the lettering on the building to reflect that change. So administration recommends awarding the contract to AAA Sign Company to install these letters in the amount of $3,930. Item J, consideration of replacement of some gates and fencing at football stadiums at Airport and Brooklyn Casey High School. We'd like to do this as needed. And the administration recommends purchasing these materials from Socks, Fence, and Supply in the amount of $2,500 using 2018-19 CPIF funds, and maintenance will do that work. Item K, I'd like to consider upgrading 2 water fountains per school so that we will have bottle filling stations. Again, this is in preparation for trying to improve our chances of not spreading the COVID-19 germs. So again, maintenance is going to do this work. We're just asking to purchase the materials to do that. So the administration recommends purchasing these water bottle filling stations, adapters from TMS South in the amount of $15,350 using old CPIF contingency. Item L, we'd like to consider removing and replacing of DC tiles in 4 classrooms at Saluda River Academy of the Arts. We have a problem with a vapor barrier underneath that floor, so we get too much moisture coming up through the concrete at times. So we've got some VCT that we need to take out and replace. The administration recommends awarding that contract to Bonnets through the state contract in the amount of $17,602.80. Item M, consideration of removal of asbestos in the 100 wing workroom at Airport High School. Basically, we have asbestos flooring in that area. We'd like to replace that flooring. So we need to do that abatement. Administration recommends awarding that abatement contract to Asbestos and Demolition Incorporated in the amount of $1,800. Item N, consideration of asbestos removal for student services and 7 classrooms and front office at the Community Education Center. Again, we're looking to remove the asbestos flooring and replace that flooring. The administration recommends allowing maintenance to proceed with this project in a not to exceed budget of $32,000 using the 2021 CPIF funds. Item O, consideration of district bleacher repair. As you may remember, we hired a company to come in and do preventive maintenance on those bleachers throughout the district. These are all interior bleachers. We found in doing that work that there were some things that needed to be repaired. So we're asking for some money to do that. So we'd like to award the contract to Mastercraft Renovation Systems, and they again are on state contract. We'd like to award the contract in an amount not to exceed $28,209 using 2021 CPIF funds. Item P, this is basically for our maintenance to do some replacement of door hardware and doors. There are several doors and hardware throughout the district that need to be replaced. And we budgeted $50,000 in the 2021 CPIF budget. So the administration recommends allowing the maintenance to use up to $50,000 to do this work. Item Q, consideration of replacing old traffic signs and signposts district-wide. We included $30,000 in the 2020-21 CPIF budget for this purpose. We'd just like to go through and replace some of those old signs and signposts as much as we can, for up to $30,000, as the administration recommends allowing maintenance to spend up to that amount to replace those old signposts and signs. Item R, consideration of concrete work throughout the district. Again, we included $50,000 in the 2019-20 CPIF budget for basically repair of asphalt at the Congaree Elementary School. We'd like to use $50,000 of that money to do concrete work throughout the district. So again, we'd like to just recommend allowing maintenance to use up to $50,000 to do that. And item S, consideration of installing fork strips district-wide. We included $100,000 in our 2021 CPIF budget for that reason. We'd like to allow maintenance to spend that money to perform that work, up to $100,000 worth. Consideration of pressure washing district-wide. Again, we put $50,000. There's $50,000 left in the 2019-20 CPIF budget for pressure washing throughout the district. We would like to continue with pressure washing that we've done and just continue that throughout the district. So again, we'd like to ask that you allow maintenance to spend up to $50,000 pressure washing throughout the district. Item U, consideration of intrusion burglar alarm replacement district-wide. Just to give a little bit of background information, we had $50,000 in our 2018-19 CPIF budget for that, and we had $200,000 in our 2017-18 CPIF budget for a total of $250,000. We've got more than $150,000 that we're asking to use there, but we'd like to use up to $150,000 to replace intrusion burglar alarm systems that are proprietary in our district. If you may recall, we couldn't even hire anybody to come in and monitor those except for the company that installed that equipment, and they said that they continue to own that equipment. So we're trying to get away from that and be able to basically pay less for the month. So the administration recommends continuing to allow maintenance to replace those systems. Item D, consideration of purchasing uniform storage units at Airport High School ROTC renovation project. This is the work that we're doing on the 700 wing at Airport High School. The original plan was to move some of the storage units that were in the old ROTC room. What we found when we started going in there trying to remove it, it was adhered to the wall in such a way that we couldn't remove it without destroying it. So we'd like to allow the administration to award the contract construction not to exceed $3,500 for purchase and install those storage units. Item W, repairs to the Airport High School tennis court fencing. This was due to storm damage that we had a few weeks ago. We'd like to again go with a different fence company. We've asked contract construction to oversee this project, but they're looking to use JMS Fence Company to do this work. So we actually want to change the amount that we have in there. We've gotten a better price from them. So we'd like to change that amount to $3,090, but we'd like to award that contract to contract construction, again for $3,090. Item X, demolition bid for Pineview Elementary School. We received bids on this project. We had a lot of bidders on this. We were very fortunate to come in with bids that were under budget. So the administration recommends awarding this contract to Carolina Wrecking in the amount of $173,000. Item Y is the demolition bid for Taylor Elementary School. Again, we had good coverage on the bids. We would like to award the bid to Complete Demolition Wrecking in the amount of $127,000. Mr. Chair, we'd also like to ask for permission to go ahead and have Jumper Carter Cease to create demolition plans for Pear Elementary, George I. Pear, and also the house on Delmar Street with the savings that we had in that budget.
I don't see that one on the agenda.
It's not, because we're not asking you for a vote on that. We're just basically, we're informing you that we would like to proceed with getting plans. We will bring a not to exceed price to you in June. We just want to basically have permission for you to go ahead and start planning to tear down George I. Pear and Delmar. Unless you have objection, we'll proceed with that. Item Z, we would like to table until June because we have gotten some, we're not convinced that the technology works as it was marketed, and we would like to continue to do some research on that. So we'd like to table item Z.
Okay, so we have items F through Z as you presented. Without objection, then those items.
F through Y, Bill. He tabled Z. He's not taking Z to us, so F through Y.
Yeah, F through Y. Z is off the table, so the F through Y would be approved without objection by unanimous consent. And I see no one object.
I just have one question, please, before we say
Okay.
that. I don't really have an objection, Don, and I promise everyone I'm not trying to prolong this section, but I do have one question, Don. So we have like a lot of local fencing companies. Why would we be going through a construction firm with their upcharge to do fencing?
Well, because we thought that was going to come in at more than the $2,500 that we're allowed to do without going through the procurement process, unless we go through a contractor that's already on that site doing work. So with the bid coming in at $3,000, that exceeds our $2,500 allowance. Up to $2,500, we could just get 3 quotes.
Got it. So, but even at 3,000, we can't just send it out 3 quotes and get 3 quotes for that, or?
That's good.
You have to go through a contract firm?
You know, we could do that.
I just wonder how much upcharge we're getting. I mean, I'm sure it's minimal, but especially since you're right there on that border, you know? I mean, I'll vote for it, but I just had that question.
With us not being here right now, with all of us basically being at home, working from home, I would like to have at least the contractor overseeing that installation.
Any other questions? So without objections, items F through Y will be approved as presented by unanimous consent. Okay? Next is item AA, consideration of ratification of the following projects. And if you would like, in the same spirit that we just passed the others, we can walk through the same thing under item AA and try to take them all as a single item by unanimous consent if we can. So Don, if you just walk through those.
All right, Mr. Chair, item number 1 is consideration of completion of reflooring project at Northside Middle School. Basically, the carpet in the media center would like to replace. The administration recommends awarding that contract to Bonnets. It was on state contract in the amount of $5,883.15 to remove and install antimicrobial carpet. Item number 2, consideration of replacing the freezer and cooler units at Northside Middle School. The current setup there is 22 years old, and basically it's one unit, freezer, cooler. If one goes out, both go out. So we would like to do a better system there, and again, we'd like to purchase this unit from John Stone Supply, which is a local company, in the amount of $6,437.36. And we would like to award the contract for labor to install that unit to Gaston Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, which is the low bidder, in the amount of $6,175. They're also a local company. Item 3, consideration of replacing the front office carpet at the Community Education Center. That carpet needs to be replaced, and the school has the funding for that project. The administration recommends awarding that contract again to Bonnets, who's under state contract. We do want to change that amount. That amount of $12,000 needs to be changed to $10,000, $10,173.06. $10,173.06 to Bonnets. Item 4, consideration of removal of oak carpet, installation of luxury vinyl tile flooring in 7 classrooms at the Community Education Center. Once again, the school has the funding for this project. We would like to award this to Bonnets on state contract, and we would like to change that amount also. And the reason we're changing these amounts is maintenance did a lot of the demo work and moving of furniture. So we'd like to change this amount. We'd like to lower it to $32,723.75. $32,723.75. Item number 5, we'd like to replace the carpet from Student Services Office. This has been in there a long time. We had this in CPIL 2021 budget, and the administration recommends awarding this contract again to Bonnets on state contract in the amount of $14,184.25. Item number 6, consideration of replacing front office carpet at Newbridge Academy. This carpet is again old and needs to be replaced. The administration, recommendation number 1 is the administration would like to award this contract to Bonnets We're gonna take contract and we're gonna change this amount. We're gonna lower it to $10,173.06. $10,173.06. You may notice that these are similar because the schools are basically the same. The areas are basically the same. And the second administration recommendation on that item, in order to replace this old carpet, the asbestos flooring has to be abated. The administration recommends allowing maintenance to bid this asbestos abatement out and award the contract at a price not to exceed $16,000. Item 7, consideration of removal of old carpet and installation of local vinyl tile in 7 classrooms at Bridge Academy. Again, we have funding in 2020-21 CPIF budget for this project. We would like to award this contract to Bonnets, and again, we'd like to lower that amount because maintenance did some of the work there as well. We'd like to lower the amount to $34,348.75. Once again, $34,348.75. Item number 8, consideration of labor to replace the freezer and cooler units at Bridge Academy. We have money in the 2019-20 CPIF budget for this work. We'd like to award the labor contract, gas and air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration in the amount of $6,370. Item number 9, basically we would like to purchase that unit for New Bridge Academy, and the administration recommends approval to purchase those units from the low bidder, which is Johnstone Supply Company, in the amount of $7,718.94. Again, Johnstone Supply is over here in Columbia. Item number 10, consideration of replacing carpet at the gymnasium commons area at former middle school. That carpet needs to be replaced. We had this as a line item in the 2020-21 CPIF budget. The administration recommends awarding that contract Bonnets on state contract for $14,860.76. Item 11, consideration of installing concrete in the parking lot islands at Airport High School. The administration would like to continue with installing concrete in some of these islands throughout the district. So the administration recommends awarding this contract to Concrete Supply Company in the amount of $9,900. Item number 12, consideration of luxury vinyl tile flooring in 100-week classroom of 100 hall teachers workroom. And again, we did the abatement earlier. This is to put the flooring down. The administration recommends awarding that contract to Bonnets on state contract in the amount of $73,385.55. Item number 13 is stair tread installation in the arena at Airport High School. The administration recommends awarding that contract to Bonnets in the amount of $15,082.56. Item 14, consideration of 4 HVAC units at Wood Elementary School. The funding for this is in the 2019-20 CPIF budget. For replacing those 4 units, the administration recommends approval to purchase these 4 units from Train in the amount of $44,448. These units will be installed by our maintenance department. Item number 15, consideration of rubber stair tread replacement at Brooke and Casey High School. And we've had good savings on the roofing project at that high school. We brought to you before that we would like to do the work up to $15,000 until we could find additional funding. Now that we have the savings on this, we have up to $100,000 that we would like to spend on the rubber tile and basically replacing and painting handrails. So The first recommendation is the administration recommends awarding the stair flooring replacement to Bonnets in the amount of $88,200. The second recommendation is the administration recommends allowing maintenance to bid and perform annual cleaning in those same stairwells at a price not to exceed $11,800. Item number 16, consideration of waiver to replace the freezer and cooler units at Busby Creative Arts Academy. That system is over 15 years old, and again, it's like the other one. It's two systems in one. When one goes out, they both go out. So our first recommendation is to allow the administration to purchase the unit from the low bidder of Johnstone Supply in the amount of $7,768.94. The second recommendation on that replacement is the administration recommends awarding the contract to gas and AC heating and refrigeration in the amount of $6,370 to install those units. With that, Mr. Chair, I conclude my remarks.
Okay, are there any questions? If there are none, without objection, the board will approve the consideration of item AA, projects 1 through 16, approved by unanimous consent. Okay, we move on to the next item, which would be administrative divisional reports. We're going to go to the monthly financial reports.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The first report for you to review is the revenue summary. I would like to point out under the state sources in the tier 2 funds, the $1.2 million. Last year, we received those funds during the month of April. This year, we received them in the month of May. So I wanted to make sure you understood those funds have been received. They were actually deposited earlier this week. So that's the reason our revenue looks a little bit lower this year in April than it did last year. But the funds have been received for that tier 2 funding. Are there any questions about the revenue report?
Marty, yes, ma'am, sorry. Do we have any concerns about the remainder of our revenues coming in strong through the end of the year in terms of tax collections and other things?
The majority of our revenues left to come in are state sources. The money we get at the FA from the state. So I feel pretty certain that we will receive those monies. I have not received any indication that we would not receive those monies. So, like I said, the vast majority of our funds left to receive are from the state.
But that's something that we're probably going to have to keep an eye to. I'm assuming within next year's budget.
Yes, ma'am. The local revenues, obviously, we will see those. We could see them starting the bigger amount in December, January, February. So those would be the months that we will notice those changes in those revenue sources. And hopefully, using the Board of Economic Advisors, we would have indications of any challenges that we would face well before we would face those challenges.
Marty, I assume our sales tax revenue would probably be somewhat off as well.
I understand. I don't disagree with you there, but from what I'm hearing, the internet revenues have increased. So I'm hoping that some of those will offset each other, at least to some degree.
As the state, when is the state, that they've suspended people paying in their sales tax right now, right?
Well, all sales tax collections are due by July 15th.
So we should get them, they're just going to be delayed.
Yes,
Correct.
Would they count in this year's budget, or do they got to roll over to next year's budget if it's after July?
They would roll to next year.
So it would show up in this year's budget as a shortfall.
if there is a shortfall, yes, sir.
Well, I'm assuming if they're holding the sales tax for that period of time, it's going to have to be a negative impact somewhere there.
Well,
we're tracking pretty positive, Mr. Bingham, and we can give the board some more information. But if we track out just like we are without the sales tax coming in, we will put money in our general fund balance this year. We aren't spending any money for substitutes, which is a major expense for us. So there are a lot of negatives about our being out and the economy being as it is, like the sales tax. But there are a lot of things that are costing us less money. And the way we're tracking right now, we will have general fund balance and CPIF fund balance for the upcoming end of the year. Ma'am.
And so, Dr. Bill, go back for me for a minute. I just want to bring this under finance, Marty or Dr. Bill or even Bill Bingham. So the 8%, the bonds that we issued tonight, do we have any worries about those with interest rates up and down? Or is that just, and this is actually an educational question for you to educate me, or is that just a set line amount, or is that going to potentially go up or down based on what's happening in the economy?
You basically gave us the approval to issue bonds. We will issue in July, we will issue some in October, some in December, and some in March. So it does vary based on the economy. We have been very fortunate. Our last sale was less than 2% interest. So we've been seeing some good numbers. We have been very heavily supported by First Citizens, who is always interested in our bond issues. So I do not hear or see any concern in the interest rates there. Any other questions on the revenues? We'll move to the expenditure report. As you can see, we are still a bit over last year, just less than 3%. I continue to track it out and project for the balance of the year. Like Dr. James said, we are still in a very positive situation going into June. That has been very helpful, that in this challenging times that we are in, that we have saved money from the not having substitute teachers on site. We have encouraged our schools to purchase only items that are absolutely necessary, especially us not having students in the school. So we are trying to control our expenditures as we finish up this final quarter.
Yeah, but Marty, even with that, I noticed that while our revenues, as you noted, comparative to last year are down, our expenditures comparative to last year are up, which based on what you just said, I would think that our expenditures would be down because we wouldn't have been spending as much money in this last quarter.
But this, we haven't had enough time. This is through April. So we had some decrease in expenditures in April, yes, from not having substitutes, but you're annualizing this. And so it's just not enough time. It's only 1 month of not having the subs on site. So you wouldn't be able to notice that in the $100,000 and the $63 million wouldn't stand out as much.
Yeah, because the revenues were down a full 1%, and then the expenditures were actually up over last year 3%. I mean, that jumped out at me when I was reviewing it, getting ready for the meeting, and just wondered if you have any concerns about that.
And like I said, if we had received that $1.2 million in the month of April, our revenues would have been higher than the same time last year. That was a timing issue with the revenue side. Expenditures, this is about where we have been since December, January time frame.
If you look, Ms. Brown, at these numbers and add that $1.2 million that came in May that normally comes in April, we would be closer to everything equalizing out. So it's just running behind on revenue.
If we were averaging everything out, we if we spent 100% of our budget, we should actually be somewhere closer to 70, probably closer to 80% spent to date. So when we're sitting here at 75, that's pretty good.
I would agree with that perspective, but just noting that last year would have been a typical year, whereas this year is an atypical year, and we're still 3% up on expenditures. But I think y'all have answered it enough for now. It'll be interesting to me to see where we kind of end up on the next report.
Yeah, that's the same question I've asked for the last several months. With our expenditures, it's been tracking higher all the way through for about the past 6 months or 7 months. The percentages have been a little higher, but that's what they have gone back and checked. There's no particular anomaly. It just has to do with how the money was spent. I think they put more money out to the classrooms earlier this year than what they had in previous years.
And virtually the schools have been spending very little the last couple of months, or especially for the month of April. I was just processing credit card receipts the other day, and we're at about 30% of what we normally spend.
And for the money going out to schools, principals have learned to spend the money early.
And it will be even earlier next year, I promise you.
Sometimes if it rocks over to April and May, it gets held. So they spend earlier.
Yeah, I think the key here is, since I first brought that up, these percentages have pretty much we've been lagging that percentage. It hasn't been growing. That would be problematic, is if that 2 or 3% difference in expenditures kept growing each month, but it's not. It's been pretty well the same amount every month.
Yes, sir. The next report is your pupil activity funds. Not a lot of change in those amounts. And the last report is the capital project commitments. Is there any questions that I can answer? Thank you.
All right, with no questions, the monthly financial reports will stand approved as presented by unanimous consent. All right, next item on our agenda is the construction update.
Mr. Chair, you have in front of you notes on most of what we presented to you tonight, but there are a few things in there that we did not cover tonight. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. We'll be making those shortly.
All right, Ms. Denham first.
Just real quick, Don, I really would like to thank your maintenance crews that you've had out. I mean, I know they've been working hard getting our projects done, probably enjoying not having people in the building, but some of my understanding, they're showing up at work every day and just really keeping us moving and going. And so please pass along a word of thanks to our maintenance folks.
What we presented to you tonight is a very aggressive schedule of getting stuff done, and maintenance is carried the lion's share of that. So I am very appreciative of what those folks have done.
All right, Ms. Kessler.
Yes. Don, on the dugout at Airport High School, are those cinder blocks going to be painted inside of dugouts? Right now, they're not painted. They're just there. That's going to tear up a lot of uniforms.
It was not part of what we had contract instruction to do. It is something that we could do if you feel that we need to do that.
Well, if you put those benches like they're designed to be against those cinder blocks, going to pick uniforms terribly. But that's not my, whatever. Second thing is, I observed that like 28
brand new chairs in those dugouts and have been there for a while. Someone needs to collect those before they get stolen. I'm surprised that they haven't been removed at this point.
Maintenance will get those.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. With that, I think our next item on the agenda is the executive session. I entertain a motion, Mr. Key.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter into a closed session for the following 4 items: consideration of personnel appointments and reappointments and resignations, consideration of a out-of-district tuition waiver request for a rising senior, discussion of contractual matters, and discussion of property matters.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Rucker. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, we are now headed to executive session. You have the code. The code is the same
You good? We're good?
I think so.
Motion that the meeting be reconvened in open session and appropriate affidavit executed.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All right, we're now in open session. As a result of discussions in executive session, do we have any motions to put forth before the board?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept all personnel appointments, reappointments, resignations.
Have a motion to approve the appointments, reappointments, and resignations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Yes, go ahead.
I make a motion to waive out of district tuition for the rising senior at BC.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the out of district tuition. Second by Ms. Branham. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, like sign. Okay. And other than that,
Mr. Bingham, real quick before we move on, and I'll make the motion to adjourn. I really want to take a minute publicly while we're being broadcast to really thank an unsung hero in our district, Mr. David SQ. He has been so patient with all of us, helped us get online, helped us get our iPads, helped us fix this, come to people's house. I mean, he has gone above and beyond throughout this situation to try to help us be able to produce this for our constituency. And I'd just like to stop and thank people like that who deserve the praise, but who sometimes, you know, may get overlooked and not hear it. And I know he's hiding behind over there, but I just really appreciate David SQ and thank him for all the hard work that he's done to help us make these meetings happen. Because David, I couldn't have been on a bunch of times without you. So thank you, David. Absolutely. Thank you, David.
okay, with that, before we move to adjourn, I wanted to express to everybody that we hope that this will be the last of the virtual meetings that we have to do. Our next meeting, it'll be in June, and we're going to strive to do that. Those meetings live. We still will have to observe the social distancing requirements, but we will hopefully be able to leave this behind us and not have to come back to this again. Not that we've ever done it in our lifetime before. So our next regular meetings, we will have, other than some special meetings, our next regular meeting for the public will be the 6:30 June 18th budget public hearing, and followed that night by our regular 7 o'clock third Thursday meeting of June. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Branham. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. King. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hands. We're good. Okay, we will see you in a few weeks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.